It's now been confirmed that Avengers Endgame in just 5 days has become the latest member of the $1 billion club, currently featuring 39 films. In this inaugural episode on the Insider Network, I'll choose my personal top 10 from these films. Before we get started, I should stipulate that this is not adjusted for inflation. Sorry, Gone with the Wind.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
So without further ado, number 10, Skyfall. James Bond has seen a number of different writers, actors and directors influence the culturally significant British spy over the last few decades, but Daniel Craig's outings have proved to be some of the most popular. None more so than 2012's Skyfall, which made a staggering $1.108 billion, unsurprisingly the most successful Bond film to date. The third film in Craig's rebooted run is arguably the most serious, dealing with themes of family, ageing and loss. Not to mention some stellar cinematography from the best of the best, Roger Deakins, and an unforgettable villain performance in the shape of Javier Bardem's Silva. In addition to that, an instant classic Bond song from Adele, and deftly directed action and drama from Sam Mendes. Number 9, Furious 7. A slight change of pace, but unashamedly love this franchise. From its humble beginnings as a straight-up Point Break ripoff, to the outrageous popcorn action franchise it is today, I think you'd be hard-pressed to have found someone in 2001 that would have predicted that some 15 years later there'd be not one, but two films that earned over $1 billion. But here we are. Furious 7 earned $1.518 billion, and did so in spite of the tragic events surrounding the franchise star Paul Walker, who unfortunately passed away during production. Not only was James Wan able to rework the story with what they had, and considerable reshoots, but he also pulled off one of cinema's most touching tributes. Number 8, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The first ever cinematic Star Wars story, a new sub-franchise spin-off prequel that expanded a single paragraph from the 1977 film that started it all into an entire movie. It garnered a mixed response from critics and fans alike, but I certainly enjoyed the change of pace, and audiences came out in masses to see it with a worldwide box office total of $1.056 billion, the third highest grossing Star Wars film behind The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Once again, this list is not adjusted for inflation. Sorry, New Hope. No! Number 7, Avengers Infinity War. For those that listen to the Insider Network regularly, you'll know that it's no secret that I'm not the biggest fan of the Infinity War films, but part of my reasoning behind placing them this high is both to honour the fans worldwide who came out in droves to spend a combined whopping $2.048 billion in what should have been billed as part 1 of 2, the culmination of all the Marvel Studios films since 2008's Iron Man. The pressure was high for the Russo brothers, but they delivered where many might have failed. The tallest order, however, may have been for Thanos, who was handled as the protagonist of the film in many ways, and Josh Brolin managed to evoke sympathy from thousands. Good old Stockholm Syndrome. Number 6, Avengers Endgame. Rounding out the bottom 5 is the sequel to Infinity War, and despite being the most recent member of the club, it's also the fastest. Shattering records at every turn, this film has truly delivered a marvellous spectacle and one of the most satisfying climaxes in recent memory. There's not too much I want to say in fear of spoilers, though you can check out the Insider Network spoiler review featuring special guest Captain Dave. Feel free to laugh in the face of all who dared whisper the words superhero fatigue. Disclaimer, people don't like it when you laugh in their face, so maybe do it behind their backs. Number 5, Titanic. What? Titanic? Yes, Titanic. They called James Cameron crazy for making this film and spending this much money, but Cameron had the last laugh when Titanic became the most successful film of all time, until it was beaten 12 years later by Avatar, directed by James Cameron. Titanic takes the story of the infamous maiden voyage and adds a timeless romantic thread between the then up-and-coming Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. It won 11 of the 14 Oscars it was nominated for, and it's probably your mum's favourite film of all time. Number 4, Black Panther. Arguably the most important film in this list for a number of reasons. Black Panther is not only the only superhero film ever to be nominated for Best Picture, but it's also the only superhero film starring an African American to break $1 billion. But putting the historical significance aside, it's also a damn good movie. I love it when a quote-unquote superhero film can transcend the genre and be something more. Winter Soldier is a political thriller, Homecoming is a coming-of-age dramedy, Guardians is a pulpy space opera, and Ant-Man is a heist movie. But Black Panther is a Bond film. It's slick, charming, suave, badass, and hosts the stellar cast of Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan, Denai Guerrera, Lupita Nyong'o, Daniel Kaluuya, Martin Freeman, Letitia Wright, Andy Serkis, and Forrest Whitaker, all reined in by the simply outstanding Ryan Coogler. This won't be his last film to break $1 billion. Number 3. The Avengers. As hard as it might be to believe now, but seeing our favourite superheroes share the screen wasn't commonplace before this 2012 blockbuster. The seeds were planted back in the post-credits scene at the end of Iron Man 4 years earlier, but I still don't think anyone expected it to be quite as successful as it was. It totaled $1.518 billion at the box office, the 6th highest overall. Joss Whedon masterfully introduced the characters to one another and managed to perfectly balance Earth's mightiest heroes against Tom Hiddleston's Loki, who solidified himself as a fan favourite. Whilst in many people's minds the Avengers might not be the best, it was certainly the first, and it raised the bar for all those to follow it. Number 2. The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. Ignoring the Hobbit films, as I often find it's best to do, this is surprisingly the only Lord of the Rings film to break $1 billion when it finished its run at $1.119 billion, and even earned an Academy Award for Best Picture. Peter Jackson's epic closed off the trilogy that many deemed unfilmable for the decades between Tolkien's fantasy classic and 2001, when The Fellowship of the Ring first proved those people wrong. The cast, led by Viggo Mortensen, Elijah Wood and Sarah McKellen, was stellar, the score unforgettable, and the endings were perfect. Whether you're a fan of sprawling fantasy epics or not, this is a must-watch film. And that brings us to the number 1 film that grossed over $1 billion worldwide. It's actually only just qualified for this list, earning $1.004 billion, ranked 39th out of 39 films. It's the 5th superhero movie on this list. It's Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, arguably the greatest comic book movie of all time, and debatably one of the greatest crime thrillers. Dark Knight succeeds at almost every turn. An unforgettable performance from the late Heath Ledger as the Joker makes repeat viewings essential to truly grasp everything that this film has to offer. Superhero films were never the same after this.